Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the Hackster.io DRS contest webinar this morning. My name is Chris Davies, and I lead product for the Dash Replenishment team here at Amazon. And we've got some slides to share with you to give you an overview of how the Dash Replenishment Service works, what the technical components of the Amazon Dash Replenishment Service are, and just generally give you guys an opportunity to ask questions and try to give you as much chance at success for your projects. So with that said, we'll get started. How does DRS work for developers? So first, Dash Replenishment Service is composed of three technical capabilities. The first is Login with Amazon. This is our standard OAuth 2 implementation that we built to allow customers to use their Amazon credentials to log into third-party applications. We use the Login with Amazon functionality to build a unique experience to allow customers to select products inside of our own web views. So we have what are called post-authorization flows, which occur after the Amazon customer logs in, and we'll dig into those in a little bit. The second piece of Dash Replenishment Service is the DRS RESTful API endpoints. We have a collection of API endpoints that are built to allow third parties to interact with the Amazon customer's account, such as place orders, and provide us updated status details about the devices that you build for your customers that your customers are using in the real world. The third piece is the SNS notification service. So SNS notification service is a little redundant. Simple notification service is what SNS stands for. This is an Amazon Web Services capability that exists today, sort of before Dash Replenishment Service. And this allows Amazon to provide developers with asynchronous notification about customer behavior. And we'll dig into that in some detail as well. Finally, in this section, we'll cover each of these things in detail to help explain how DRS works from an implementation perspective. So, as I mentioned, Login with Amazon is used to allow developers to join their existing customer account structure with the customer's Amazon account. It can also be used in a truly OAuth 2 method to eliminate a customer account structure on your side. You could use Login with Amazon exclusively to build accounts for your customers and use the token that you receive at the end of the process to actually manage the customer's relationship with your product. So you can invoke LWA using a mobile SDK for both iOS and Android, or the Java Web SDK. Those things are available, of course, on developer.amazon.com. And LWA, as I mentioned before, is an OAuth 2 standards-based protocol, and we use it to provide a post-authorization flow. So once the customer logs in using their Amazon credentials, we present to them the ability to select products that are relevant to your device, using the ASIN lists that you build, and we'll dig into that in some more detail here in a little bit. Once the post-authorization flow is complete and the customer has selected a product and specified the billing address and payment instrument they wish to use with their Dash Replenishment enabled device, the post-authorization flow concludes, and LWA returns to the developer a set of tokens that are used to actually access Amazon capabilities like the DRS APIs using and identifying that customer by the token. So for example, you would exchange an access code for an access token and a refresh token to use the API endpoints. And the refresh token is used to get more access tokens because access tokens expire. So here's an example of the Login with Amazon post-authorization flow. The first screen is the screen that's presented to the customer in the web view to allow them to log into their Amazon account. I've highlighted here a couple of things that are user configurable or developer configurable here on this screen. So you can see sign into oft-plat-test plus LWA. This is the application name from the LWA configuration or the LWA security profile on developer.amazon.com. So you specify the name of your application in the LWA security profile, and we pull that across into the web view. So the customer logs in with their credentials here in the two yellow boxes, and they click sign in using the secure server, and they receive a consent notification. And of course, I'm Christopher Davies there, so my email address is blacked out, but That's my customer detail, so my name, my email address, and then in the red box in the upper right-hand corner, you can see where your logo from the LWA security profile would be pulled over. So you're asked to provide a high-quality logo, and we use that logo there, and that gives your customers visual recognition of the product that you've built for them so that they know that they're still interacting with your experience. And then at the very bottom, there's a link to the privacy notice. And you can see that if we pull across the application name for the privacy notice, and inside that link is the URL that you provided for your privacy notice in the LWA security profile. So that's, again, configurable in the LWA console. The second step, once they click OK on that screen, they see what we call the ASIN list or the ASIN selection screen. And so the ASIN selection screen here on the left is made up of a couple of critical pieces. At the top, you see choose the paper towel, and paper towel is in red because this is the slot name that you configure as a developer in the developer console for Dash Replenishment Service. The slot counter is present in case your device has more than one slot. The case for slots, the way to think about that is in the market today we have printers, and some printers are color printers. And color printers generally have 4 slots, one for each of the colors. So there would be a black toner cartridge, and a magenta toner cartridge, and a cyan toner cartridge, and a yellow toner cartridge. And then the products that are relevant to each of those toner cartridge slots are listed in the list right below the slot counter. So in this particular example, we have 2 slots for the paper towel, and we have 1 product in the list. Now, that's not a requirement. You can have many, many, many products in the list, and the more products you have, the more flexibility the customer has to actually interact with a sort and filter criteria, which appears right above the ASIN list. On the right here, you see the summary screen. This is where the customer, at the top, shipping address and payment information, the customer specifies their shipping address and payment instrument. If they have nothing here, then clicking the caret on the right will take them into the one-click experience and help them configure that. Underneath that, you can see the products that I selected with the checkboxes, and that indicates that I have picked a product for each of those slots. I can see the price and the fact that those products are Prime shipping eligible. And then when I'm all done as a customer, I can click Complete Setup on this screen, and that will close the LWA post-authorization flow for the customer and cause LWA to return to the developer the access code or tokens that are necessary from the process, depending on what process you invoked. Next, let's talk a little bit about the DRS API endpoints. You can see we have 5 HTTPS endpoints for DRS. Replenish is the first, very simple endpoint. It requires the access token and the slot that you wish to replenish. Critical to understand here is that the product that the customer selects doesn't have to be specified by the developer. For security purposes, we keep that information available on our side, so the customer knows what they selected, we know what they selected, and the developer simply has to indicate which product it is that they are requesting to be replenished, which slot, I should say. Slot status is for developers to notify Amazon of consumption status of the product that's in use. This is not mandatory, but we ask that you do this at least once a day. In the future, we may be able to use this data to help consolidate shipping and other valuable customer-facing capabilities. So it's, again, not mandatory, but we ask you to use that once a day. Device status is similar to slot status, but what we're asking you to notify us of here is that the device is still online, still connected to your cloud, and still available in using the service or consuming products. So the device status is just a check to say this device is still alive. We heard from it recently. Deregistration, once a customer completes the LWA post-authorization flow and you receive the token, the customer can deregister the service. That can be done via the DRS API here, deregistration, meaning your application could send a deregistration notification by some action from the customer. Or the customer can also go to amazon.com/mycd, manage your content and devices, and they can view the DRS device similar to how you can view a Kindle or a Fire tablet that's attached to your Amazon account today. And in that screen, it's possible for the customer to initiate a deregistration. Finally, subscription info is an API that we have that allows you to gather the status of the subscription. We provide SNS notifications for subscription status, which we'll cover in a little bit, but the subscription status, subscription info API is there to allow you to query that transactionally and ascertain the status of a subscription at any time. SNS notifications, again, the Amazon Simple Notification Service from Amazon Web Services, or AWS, provides that asynchronous communication back to developer application and services for customer actions. There are 6 SNS notifications for DRS. Order placed is the notification we send you when the replenishment API is called, and the call was not only successfully received, but processed by the platform. So if we have no problems with placing the order, we will send an order placed notification once that's received. Order canceled is a notification we send. The customer has 24 hours to cancel an order which is placed by your device. Should they cancel that order, we notify your platform or device using the order cancel SNS notification. Device registered, of course, is once the LWA post-authorization flow is complete and the device is registered to the customer's account, we send you a device registration notification to indicate that that was all completed successfully. The device deregistered notification, anytime a customer performs a deregistration, whether they've done that from MYCD or through an API call somehow in your application, we send you a device deregistration notification. Subscription changed notifications exist to allow you to understand what changes the customer has made. It is possible for the customer using your application or the MYCD page to modify the ASIN that they have selected, and ASIN stands for Amazon Standard Identification Number. It's a term we use to identify products. So in the case before where I chose paper towels, I may have been able to choose also napkins on that list. And if I switch between paper towels and napkins, we will send you a subscription change notification to indicate that change. And then finally, once an order is placed and 24 hours has elapsed and the customer has not canceled that order, then we send out an item ship notification, which includes the customer promise date. So if you're an Amazon customer today, you know that you generally get an email that says that your order is shipped, and it tells you the date that we think the order will arrive. That date is included in the item ship notification so that you can give your customers a sort of value-added experience in your application using that information. The device and app CX guidelines are available on the web. The idea here is there are several different potential problems with the Dash Replenishment Service. One of them, for example, is out-of-band usage. Customers may purchase products out of cycle or other things, and so there's some guideline on how to think about that. There's also what we call the first bottle problem. On the day a DRS device is set up, it may be difficult to know how much product, how much consumable product a customer has on hand. We cover those topics and many more in the CX guidelines on the developer portal for DRS docs. Next is the teaser page. The teaser page is a technology that we created to allow you to sort of have a brief Amazon-provided advertisement that describes how DRS works in a sentence. To create your teaser page, we need a hero image of your device and a description of the consumable that your device orders. So, for example, if your device was a washing machine, you could send us a hero image of your washing machine and indicate that your washing machine orders laundry detergent and fabric softener, let's say. And we will create the teaser page for you and email you the composite ID. The composite ID then is used in the URL from the documentation to actually display the teaser page to your customers transactionally when they register. So how does DRS work for customers? We've kind of covered the technical pieces. And maybe before I dive too deep into this, there's one thing I think left to cover from a technical perspective, and that is the DRS administration page. Once a customer has completed the LWA post-authorization flow and registered their device, the developer application should create a way for the customer to manage their Dash Replenishment service. And this Manage button will be a link to a URL that we provide using the token that will display to the customer a screen similar to the screen that they see when they're completing the setup. So it'll show their payment and address. It will show the products that they have selected. And it will allow them to click inside that web view and change those products. We call this the DRS management screen. And the documentation is very clear on sort of how to invoke that once you have an access token. But that experience should be present in your developer application because customers may need to change their products from time to time or change their billing and or payment information. And finally, at the top of the management screen, there is a toggle that allows the customer to unsubscribe from the service. This is not a deregistration. This simply blocks replenishment requests from working, and we do send you a subscription update notification that specifies that the customer has taken that action. So the difference between an unsubscribe and a deregister is that a deregister causes the customer to have to go through the re-registration process or the registration process again. They must complete the LWA post-authorization flow again if they deregister. If they simply unsubscribe, then the device is still on their account. Their relationship with your token is still intact. It's just that replenishment functions will not work until the customer toggles the subscription notification back on. Okay, so kind of jumping in quickly to how does DRS work for customers? Customers purchase a DRS-enabled device, of course, from Amazon.com or offline retail. Customers set up the device for network access. So, of course, these devices are connected. If the device is using Wi-Fi, then the customer should have a process in your experience that gives them a wizard that helps them configure their device to access Wi-Fi. If your device uses Bluetooth and the phone as a sort of hub, then there may not be any setup steps, but if there are, you should consider having those in your companion application. So the customers complete that process and the device is on the network. The third-party companion app, again, provides the ability to invoke the LWA registration, maybe spends a few screens or a screen explaining the value proposition of the Dash Replenishment service for this device. And then it allows the customer to log in and complete the LWA post-authorization flow. The customer, of course, completes that setup experience in the companion application. Perhaps there are other out-of-the-box or UBI steps that are required once LWA post-authorization flow and DRS registration is complete. So the customer could complete those steps. And then the customer begins to use the device and consumables normally. So if it's a washing machine, customers begin to do laundry and use laundry detergent in the device. And the device begins the process of measuring that consumable product. Customers, of course, customer devices track consumption and utilize the 3P services. They notify various cloud services of consumption that's being used. And then once the usage threshold has been passed, the third-party device and or service triggers that replenishment call to Amazon. So what happens after that from a customer perspective is of course the developer gets a 200 on the replenishment request, receives an order placed SNS notification, and then Amazon emails the customer to inform them that an order has been placed, and that email informs the customer that they have 24 hours to make a choice. If they do nothing, then the order is placed and an item shipment email is sent to the customer with the customer promise date. That happens after 24 hours. If they cancel the order, they can go to My Orders on Amazon.com and cancel the order just like any other Amazon order, and that will trigger an SNS notification to the third-party device and service. Now, from here, just a small technical annotation from the developer side. When an order is in flight during that 24-hour period and before it is shipped, or I should say before the day it's promised to the customer, additional replenishment requests will be ignored. You will not be able to sort of send out another replenishment request. However, in the cancel case, you could technically immediately send another order, but in the CX guidelines, we ask you to use our methodology for cancel, which is the first cancel should be a sort of notification to the customer that you detected their cancel, and then notification that you will wait 5 days to place another order, because perhaps there's a transactional reason that the customer wants to cancel. After 5 days, you can place another order, and if the customer cancels that order, then we ask you to stop ordering. So the CX guidelines provide more detail on this, and I'm happy to answer any questions as we get to the Q&A. At the end, if the customer allows the order to go through, the item shipment email is sent to the customer, the item shipment notification is sent to the developer, the customer promise date comes, and the customer receives the product and replaces the consumable, and monitoring resumes. So there should be logic on your device or in your third-party cloud application that allows you to detect what the current level is and that the level has returned to 100, in which case you should resume monitoring and then sort of have your system prepared to place another order should consumption return to 0. So with that, that's at a high level, that's what we wanted to cover today for the webinar. We'll open it up, I think, to Q&A. We have also, in the appendix of this document, we have some sample iOS code that we've provided to allow you to understand how to think about the iOS endpoint or the iOS SDK for login with Amazon. We are using the newest 3.0.1 SDK, which is mandatory for login with Amazon. So if you have not updated your login with Amazon SDK in the last 2 or 3 days, I would recommend that you go and update that from developer.amazon.com under the login with Amazon header. And so here, I think maybe we'll pause for questions, and then maybe we can tab through. For the purposes of recording, we'll tab through the sample iOS code, so we have it here. But from there, we will take a Q&A. So I have the chat open if you want to submit questions.
Hi, Chris.
I see them in the questions here.
Hi, Chris. This is Alessandra.
Limited to iOS and Android? The answer here is no. They can be web-enabled. And they would use the Java SDK for LWA. Sorry, I was typing. So using the Java SDK, and then finally I added that these are already in place for the Brother printer experience. So Brother Printers is using a web experience as well as the Brita Infinity. So both of those are using that experience. Let me see. We cannot see them. Did it stop sharing? I still show that it's sharing them.
Hi, Chris, can you hear me?
This one says, DRS could make a lot of sense to reorder low-cost commodities, items with low margins. Will there be a difference in the shipping and handling Amazon charges to sellers when using DRS device for reordering? This is on a, I'll type an answer too, but this is on a per product basis. So margin and calculation for sellers is sort of on a per product basis with the retail team. So it's a discussion you have to have on a case-by-case basis. If you're manufacturing the consumable that you're selling and you're concerned about pack sizes or profitability, this is definitely a discussion we would have with the retail team directly. I'm not sure how I'll type up an answer to that, but I'll try that. We'll send to all here. is there a JavaScript Node SDK? There is not a, well, it's a fair question. Here, let me see if I can jump through these last 3 slides here. I keep kind of pausing over long on a couple of them, but I want to make sure that everybody has seen them. There is a Java SDK. It's not a Node SDK. That part I'm certain on, but it may be acceptable as a JavaScript SDK. So let me hop out of sharing here. Okay, so that was the question. Is there a JavaScript Node SDK? There is a Java SDK. Let's see here. And it is for JavaScript. Sorry, so yes, the answer is there is a JavaScript SDK, but not a Node SDK. I'll send that to all. Okay, the next one is, during the 24-hour time period given to the customer, but before the order is actually placed, what if there is another order, automatically auto-initiated request by the device for another item or order, which is actually a genuine request? So I'm not sure that this question isn't fully fleshed out, so I'll take a stab at, again, the question is, during the 24-hour period, but before the actual order is placed, what if there's another auto-initiated request which is actually genuine? So if the descriptor here is the slot, if slot 1 has an order in flight, there cannot be another request to replenish slot 1 until slot 1's current request has shipped. However, if a device has more than one slot and slot 2 becomes due for reordering, it is possible to reorder for slot 2 while slot 1 has an order in flight. But there is no case where 2 replenishment requests for a single slot are valid while one order is already in flight. So you have to tune your monitoring algorithm to be sure that if you place your order, you've placed it with enough time to ensure that your device doesn't run completely out of its consumable before that first order has shipped. Okay, so I'll send that to all. Thank you for that question, Dipin. Question above from Travis. I answered this one. They can be web-based. Ketchu Trevino, DRS could make a lot of sense for shipping charges. We just answered that one. Marketplace selection with no options stuck me in LWA flow. We are currently, so the marketplace selector is a functionality that's coming soon for our European launch. So if your device has not been configured for European markets, that drop-down won't work. So if you're still stuck on a device, you may need to recreate that device or open a case, post a post on the forum, and we will look into it from a back-end perspective. As far as I know, it doesn't invalidate your configuration, but there may be an issue that perhaps you have found that we're not aware of. So try to recreate your device, make sure that it's set up properly, and if that's too much hassle, create a forum post so we can track the issue and try to figure out what's going on. So again, the question here was, the Ravi Bhutani said he modified the marketplace selector in the LWA flow, and that caused them to get stuck. So again, if there's an issue, please let us know and we will have a look. This question from Kirby is, how does replenishment work with items listed as add-on items or third-party sellers? We are not currently supporting third-party sellers for products that are available on Amazon.com. So kind of breaking that question into two parts, add-on items can be utilized. So if you build them into your ASIN lists, they should display properly. However, third-party sellers will not work. All products that are available in the DRS experience must be shipped and sold by Amazon. Send to all. Bin Sun says, I'm stuck at the marketplace selection page. So that the page is blank. I'm gonna just take a note of this one too. So this is the second one. I'll have someone look into this today. We'll get some answers. This question from Theo Carper is there a demo environment to test this all out? And the answer is we don't provide a demo environment. So you have, and that leads to a good follow-on answer, which is we have a capability that we built during the LWA registration, and this is listed in the documents. You can specify that a device you are registering is a test device. And when you do so, you will be able to perform the entire process up to and including the replenishment order, but no real order will be placed. So no one's credit card will be charged, nothing will be shipped. But then that device has to wait for the item ship date to be tested again. So we find that many developers choose not to use the isTestDevice true flag and simply cancel their orders to keep them from shipping. But the isTestDevice true flag exists to allow you to configure devices and perform replenishment capabilities without actually charging your credit card or receiving shipping. Ketchu Trevino says DRS could make a lot of sense to oh, this is same question. Andy Zilch, given there is a 24-hour period between device and service requesting a replenishment and the order being placed, plus an indeterminate amount of time for picking, packing, shipping, and transport, when do you recommend the device try to trigger a replenishment order? I believe we cover this in the CX documents. But we ask you, since Dash Replenishment Service is available to customers who are not Prime, we ask you to give at least 7 days. In the US, generally, most packages are delivered within 5 days. So including the 24 hours, 7 days would give you plenty of time. Now, customers who are Prime are, of course, going to get their products much quicker, especially if the products are Prime eligible, the consumable products. But the 7 days gives you enough of a window to ensure that your customers are able to have enough time, of course, for the full shipping as well as the 24-hour cancellation. Andy Zilch asks, do recommendations for the content to put on the management page appear in the device app CX guidelines? The management page itself is a web view, so you don't have to worry about what goes on that. You just have to build into your application a button and a menu location where your customers can find the manage button and then click it to launch the web view. Is there a sample image of the teaser page? It's a good question. This question is from Kirby Grease. This says, is there a sample image of a teaser page? I felt like there might have been, but since you're asking, there must not be on the developer documentation. So I'll take that as a note. I don't think... Oh, we lost audio? Hello? Okay, good. All right. Sorry, I got a report that we lost audio. So I'm just checking here. I don't think that there's a sample image of the teaser page, but that's good feedback, Kirby. Actually, there is. If you go to the developer documentation and click on docs and teaser page in the actual navigation, you will see there is an image of the teaser page. See, I can be even more helpful and provide you with the URL. Here we go. Okay. Order canceled. This is from Dipin Shah. Order canceled SNS notification is after successful processing or just receipt of the cancel request. Order canceled SNS notification would happen after order placed and before item shipped. I think that answers your question. Okay. Yep, this is a question for VadMD. Will the recording of this be available? I believe that it will on the Hackster contest. Travis T. Gass, thank you for your time. Can you use this via LWA to sell digital goods through AVS Alexa interface? And the answer today is no, Travis, but there's a lot of things we're working on as it regards voice and DRS in the future, so stay tuned. Okay, marketplace selection, that's the stuck one. Let me go down here. Travis's question, kind of scrolling down here. Okay, I think I have a new question here. Bastian Slay asks, I am testing my code with test device equals true token in LWA. At first, I got the correct emails back with order number equaled null, but last week I only got shipping address incorrect or payment information request incorrect. What can I do to get the test messages correctly sent through SNS? If you don't mind, I need some more detail about exactly what you're seeing. It would be helpful if you could post this, Bastian, as a forum post so we can understand with more detail what you're getting back. It would help me to see exactly what you're getting in the SNS message so I can understand what the problem you're seeing is. But just to caveat that, if this is a order that you are trying to place for a device that already has an item ship date, this will not work. And this may be the correct behavior for that scenario, but I just have to check with the development team. But the scenario is, if you use the test device true flag and you place an order and you get an item ship date, you cannot place another order and expect it to work until after the item ship date, which is why many developers do not use the is test device true flag, because they can simply cancel the orders. But if you need to see the item shipped notification, I understand, and the only way to do that without charging your credit card is to use is test device true. But if you do use is test device true, you cannot place 2 orders until after the item ship date has elapsed. Okay. Ulysses Flynn asks, do the endpoint hardware devices, let's say dash buttons, interact with DRS directly or with the third-party app? Could you show a communications flow? I don't have a communications flow handy. Let me see. I say that, but let me look. This is a great question. I'll try to narrate while I'm talking so that we don't lose time. But the answer is sort of broadly, yes. Both are perfectly reasonable. But if you rely on the device instead of a cloud service or third-party app, then processing SNS messages becomes a task that the device itself has to do. So it's perfectly reasonable for you to build a device that has all of the computing capability necessary to interact with and process all of the SNS notifications that are relevant to it. However, most architectures either use a mobile application, as you mentioned, a third-party app, or a cloud service, or in some cases, both. So the reason for that being, the device can be as simple as possible, simply reporting usage up to the cloud, or to the mobile application if you're using like Bluetooth beaconing or something like that. And then once the replenishment trigger needs to happen, that's a calculation that takes place in the cloud or in the app, and the app takes care of all of that communication with Amazon so that you can process all of the SNS messages there. Hopefully that helps. Okay, marketplace selection. Yeah, I stopped sharing the Ravi, I don't know if I understand this question, but while order is in order in progress and second replenishment request is done, its response is yes, that is correct. So Ravi, thank you for adding that clarification. If you have an order in flight, you will receive a 200 request response from the replenishment endpoint, but there will be an information code in the payload that specifies that another order is in progress. That's a good point, Robbie. Thank you. Claude Garrett asks, when requesting access tokens, I get the error unauthorized client, not authorized for requested operation. Is this referring to the client ID or the client making the request? So this indicates to me that your LWA security profile configuration isn't complete. So you may need to go back to your LWA security profile and ensure that you've put in all of the correct information, and then ensure that the client ID that you provided to us in the developer portal is the same as the one in the security profile. So yes, if you can check your security profile ID and make sure that the LWA client ID is right, we will take a look. Okay. I feel the question was missed. Digital goods via AVS. Travis, if you're still there, maybe you can give me a little more detail. Audio's good. Okay. Maybe you can give me a little more detail on what you mean digital goods. You mean specifically that you want to reorder or you want to place orders for Amazon Instant Video rentals or Kindle books or something like that? Is that what you mean? If that's the question, then currently DRS does not support any digital goods whatsoever. Okay. Bastian asks about the V2 notifications, and there was a rollback, Bastian, to the V2 notifications. Those were sort of we were almost ready to roll those out, and you did help us find an issue, and so we are circling back around that issue, and once we're done, we will re-announce that V2 is ready. Okay. Gursimran Singh says, how can I use cheap ESP modules to place order? Is there any library or example? It would be really helpful. I assume you mean compiled code or something like that. I don't have any examples of hardware level code that you can use. Right now, all of our current implementations are using a third-party app of some kind, whether it's a mobile device or a web app. So I don't have any library or examples for that. Let me see. Antonio Botella asks, is it possible to reduce the 24-hour period of time prior to shipping automatically the order with some kind of on-demand customer acknowledge which triggers the shipment? We've thought a lot about this, and the place where we have landed on this, Antonio, is the right experience for the customer is where the customer doesn't have to think about these products being reordered. And that acknowledgement sort of is a, like, hey, you must do something. So the answer for now certainly is no. We will sort of take that under advisement and continue to think about it. But right now, the vision for Dash Replenishment Services, you configure it once, and it places the orders automatically. And that 24-hour period is just a safety net to allow customers to evaluate the price of the product that's being ordered and make sure that they're sort of perfectly okay with the way the process is working. Okay. Ravi asks, on every replenishment, I am getting 5 emails. I'm not sure if that's relevant to the trouble you were having with the picker or not. So if you can open a forum post that provides some detail about what you submitted for your replenishment request, the responses you got back, and then the customer emails that you received, that would be helpful. Yep, there's the teaser page from Ulysses. Ephraim says, hello, please explain the implementation of ADRS with 10 lines of codes and its pros and cons. The reality is that the implementation of ADRS with 10 lines of code simply says that if you build a very small processing engine that can place the HTTPS post calls and process the SNS notifications, you have an ADRS implementation. Now, how the device or third-party application or the cloud service uses that capability is a much larger discussion, but we have had developers come into the office here with a new device from major manufacturers and implement a very rudimentary dash replenishment service capability in less than 24 hours. And the benefits of that, really, the pros are that the dash replenishment service is a very simple module that we tried to make as extensible as possible. The cons of that are, as a result, there is some logic that's necessary in the device and or third-party application / cloud that processes and handles the actual usage from the devices. We did consider potentially performing those tasks for developers and landed on this much more extensible capability instead. Hopefully that helps. Audio's good. All right. Ashutosh asks, can a person from India use DRS service as a developer to test how it works? And the answer is yes. You will need a US developer account. So you'll need to go to developer.amazon.com and create a US-based developer account. But then, once you've done that, everything will work as though you are in the US, even if you are physically sitting in India. So there's no problem for you to use the developer tools available on developer.amazon.com/DRS to take advantage of dash replenishment service from anywhere in the world. Now, of course, dash replenishment service won't work in India. And you wouldn't want to do that because then we would be trying to ship products to India, which would be very expensive. But as far as testing and experiencing dash replenishment service, absolutely you can do that. Okay, for digital good. All right, one last question here. Hari Guhan asks, can DRS system be implemented in vending machines, not only in homes, but also in companies and communities? And this is a great question, and the answer here is absolutely. We have no sort of restrictions on how or where or what a device's use case is. If you have a good idea for what a experience should be with a vending machine that services an office building or services a doctor's office or services your home, we believe that you should be able to build that hardware and create that product and use Amazon Dash Replenishment Service to make sure that the products that are in that machine are always available and in stock. So please, the sort of sky is the limit from the perspective of Dash Replenishment implementation on consumable products that customers are using every day and the hardware that they interact with to use those things. So hopefully that was helpful. Ephraim asks, currently, are there any templates for Amazon DRS that present in detail with screenshots and code samples the flow required from A to Z to create a basic DRS-enabled device in a similar way that we have for Alexa skill kit templates? If not, are there any in the works? So I'll stop there. There's more question here, but first, the answer is no. There isn't currently, and yes, there is one in the works. Very similar to the Raspberry Pi implementation that Alexa did, we're working on something similar. I did take a look at the documentation and sample code, but I believe that a simple yet detailed template would be a great complement to the documentation presenting Amazon DRS best practices for the web and mobile. We absolutely agree, Ephraim. Our perspective is we're working on some of the more advanced technical documentation that can help developers sort of visualize how this works. So I appreciate that feedback, and we'll take that back and see what we can come up with. Dippin Shaw asks, on the device's hardware front, does DRS feature make use of sensors for initiating a replenishment? This is a great question, Dippin, and the answer here is all DRS devices must include sensors for monitoring usage because Dash Replenishment Service is not intended to be a subscription capability. We don't want customers to sign up and receive products every 30 days or every 60 days or every 10 days. That's not the intention of Dash Replenishment Service. The vision of Dash Replenishment Service is to take how we think of IoT and combine that with sensor technology that monitors the usage of products and use those two things together to build experiences that let customers simply have the products that they need delivered to them when they need them. And so we are absolutely looking for new and innovative ideas through our Hackster.io contest for devices that have innovative sensor arrays that are monitoring consumable products to give customers that magical Dash replenishment experience. Okay. In this case, what is Amazon's plan for integrating this feature into existing consumer electronics devices? I can't say anything about that, but I will say that we have partnerships, and as you can see online today, we have devices in market where Dash Replenishment Service is being used to make sure that those devices have the consumable products that they need. Ravi asks, how about adding the feature in DRS LWA that other than ASINs selected by developer, customer can also add more ASINs? This is an interesting thought, Ravi. I'll take note of that, and we'll discuss internally. Ashutosh asks, does Amazon provide any API to interface IoT devices to use DRS without using Dash Button? The Dash Button really is just a very specific first-party example of a DRS device. You can use AWS IoT, which is an MQTT messaging bus, as an interaction for a very low-level DRS type device, if you like. And of course, functions like Lambda and other things can help you with intelligent monitoring and algorithms for when to take actions. So there certainly are myriad applications of Amazon Web Services capabilities, but we have seen success with partners using Amazon Web Services IoT implementation to get that MQTT message bus to create a communication channel directly to the device. Well, it is 10 o'clock, and I've got one more question here from Dippin. I mean the DRS feature. No, I understood what you meant, Dippin. I don't have a good answer for that one, so sorry. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Thank you for your submissions on the project. I'm looking forward and excited to see what you guys come up with and all of the innovative ways you guys are using sensor technology and connectivity to keep track of consumable products so that we can have this never ran out of it moment for our customers. So thanks again for your time.